Hey everybody, I'm here for True North Wilds. It's winter. That means all sorts of wonderful things for this season. There's snow in the air and on the ground and everywhere. The rivers and the lakes are frozen over with ice. There's ice everywhere else too. All sorts of magical things that happen this time of year. Like whiteouts, blizzards. Had to shovel the driveway this morning. Truck won't start if you don't plug it in. Some days the temperature reaches the same as Mars though. That's kind of cool. Had to put on 10 layers this morning to go and grab something from the shed. Frostbite, frozen water pipes, frozen fuel lines. Dogs don't want to go out to pee. The air hurts your face. It hurts to breathe. Why do I live here again? Right, fishing. Ice fishing. It's the best time of year to do ice fishing because it's the only time of year you can do ice fishing. So let's talk about that today on the Deep Dive. Fishing, the only reason to go outside. Fishing, the only reason to go outside in the winter. So we're going to talk about ice fishing today. I'm going to talk about basic setup as far as rods and reels and tackle and just sort of what you need to have a general all-purpose sort of kit. I'm not going to spend any time on shelters, heaters, augers. Everybody knows that if you're going to go out in the winter and you need to punch through the ice, you're going to need a shelter from the cold. You're going to need a heater to keep you from getting cold. And you're going to need a way to get through the ice. So you're going to need an auger of some sort. There's huge variety out there of those things, and information and reviews and everything are readily available. So I'm not going to spend any time on those. What I am going to talk about is considerations for choosing your tackle box, how to set up your tackle box to have a general all-purpose chance at a variety of fish. What rods to pick, what you want to look for in rods, fishing line, that sort of stuff. So we're going to be focused more on the rod and reel and tackle part of ice fishing. For beginners, we're going to talk about just very basic stuff. I'm not going to get too much into specific situations. I'm going to talk in a general sense. Keep in mind my frame of reference is southeastern Manitoba. So what I talk about in my experience is Canadian Shield, lakes and rivers, and prairie rivers in the form of the Red River, Assiniboine, things like that. That being said, let's dive into rods and reels. First thing you're going to need is a couple rods and reels, obviously. In Manitoba, I believe the whole province, you can have two lines in the water. So you can have tip-ups or you can have rod and reel. So you want to have at least two lines for here anyway. So the two most general actions that are going to serve you the best for a general purpose setup are going to be a medium light and a light, or two medium lights. So I have this is my medium light. This is a Berkley lightning rod ice version. I'm not particularly tied to any brands as far as we go through the gear here, but this is an example of a nice medium light rod. It's still stiff enough that you can catch walleye. So when I'm judging a rod and I'm judging a lure, I'm thinking, can I catch walleye? Because that's the most prominent game fish here. And then going down my list of priorities, bass, pike, trout, and so on and so on. Ending up with panfish. So mainly I want to be able to catch walleye. Anything that can catch walleye will typically also catch bass and pike, which makes everything nice and easy. A medium light rod is sensitive enough that you can vertically jig. So everything for walleye in the winter, everything for any fish in the winter, I guess, when you're drilling a hole, is vertically jigging. So the medium light gives you enough sensitivity that you can vertically jig, feel those nibbles. Walleye in particular are notorious for nibbling your bait and not fully committing for a long time. So you need to feel that little bit of twitch. Medium light's perfect for that. If you go medium, you're probably okay, but it's getting to be a little bit less sensitive. If you go medium heavy, you're definitely losing your sensitivity. I have this rod here, which is a medium power, and you can see the difference in stiffness here. It's very stiff compared to that one step down of medium light. So medium light, you can see, bends nice and easy. You get a lot of sensitivity. You lose a lot of that as soon as you step up to a medium. I've still used this. I've still done okay. I wouldn't go anything heavier than a medium, for sure, unless you're specifically going for pike or a bigger fish. This is another example of a medium light rod that I have. So this is HT Iceberg DX is the brand and model. It's a little bit stiffer than the Berkley lightning rod. I actually kind of prefer this for me, for a budget rod, because HT is more of a budget friendly brand. It's still super sensitive. You'll still feel a lot of the twitching. You'll still feel a lot of those little hits, but it's got a little bit more stiffness than the lightning rod. And the reason for that is because it's shorter. And so by being a little bit shorter, you get a little bit more stiffness in the back end, but by being a medium light power, you still get fairly good sensitivity. So if I was budget conscious, which I often am, and I assume most people often are, the HT this is great. This has been a perfect buy for me. HT, I like it. It was cheap, but it's been great. It's the perfect length, and it gives me the perfect stiffness and sensitivity for a medium light rod for that length. One thing you want to avoid is going with too long of a rod. I bought this Ugly Stick, Shakespeare Ugly Stick, and it is, I believe, a medium. It's a medium action. Has good sensitivity, has good flex and everything, but it's too long. So I used this rod twice, and it was just, when you're inside the shelter and you're holding it in front of you, that hole is a long ways away. A lot of times inside a shelter, you don't have that much space. If you want a ultimate general setup, go with two medium light rods. Maybe go with different lengths like I have here. Go 128 inch and 126 inch. Or just get two 26 inch ones. Depending on your budget, depending on your personal preference, and depending on what's available in your region, you really can't go wrong with that as far as rods go. Reels really don't matter too much as far as the brand. The main thing for an ice fishing reel is make sure you have instant anti-reverse clutch or whatever it's called. So you're reeling in. As soon as you try and go backwards with your reel, it should lock. You don't want a reel that, some of them have a set point where the reel has to go around a specific amount and then it hits the lock. So then you're losing 6 inches potentially of line before it actually locks. That's what you don't want. Most reels that I've got, I can't think of any reel that I've bought in recently that doesn't have this instant anti-lock. So I don't think that's going to be an issue for most people. Just something to keep in mind. Other than that, I really have no recommendations for reel. Get something that's going to fit your rod. That instant anti-reverse or the one-way clutch is the key thing. Other than that, spend more of your time and effort on finding the right rod than worrying about the reel. So let's talk lures. Let's talk about how to give yourself the best variety of lures to catch the most variety of fish. There's a few basics for each species that are always going to work. And there's a few basics that you're going to want to have in your tackle box. That'll just cover you for every situation, basically. And you know it, the ball head jig, the universal bait. You can't go wrong with this. Having a variety of jig heads, so this is a ball head jig, basic ball head. This is a knuckleball jig, which everybody knows that I love. I did reviews on that. You can see it in my channel. These jig heads that have the blades on them, just a variety of basic jig heads. Most places that I've fished, every place that I've fished, a jig with a minnow on it is going to catch you something. You really can't go wrong. Anywhere around here that I throw in a jig and a minnow, I'm going to catch fish. If I'm specifically going for walleye and sauger or pike or bass, a jig and a minnow will sort of be my starting point where I see if that's what they want, and I'll change colors and I'll change styles of jig, but it's the basic presentation. It catches fish. It catches almost everything. So have a variety of jig heads in your tackle box, and you can see here I have a good chunk of my tackle box dedicated to jig heads of different styles. That includes hair jigs. Hair jigs are an often overlooked style of jig around here. Most people won't typically put on a hair jig when they can just put on a knuckleball or a bladed jig. But I find that these hair jigs, this one in particular is from Northwear Jigs. I have a couple others on my rods here. This is another one from Northwear Jigs. And this one as well. And I've actually these are on my rods right now because I have been using them recently with success. Hair jigs are nice because they give you a bigger presentation. So if you can imagine this flowing in the water, it's giving you that big presentation, that flowy look. You throw on a minnow or a piece of bait onto the hook, in addition to that big presentation, you're attracting a lot of predators. Walleye will go crazy over these. Pike absolutely love this style of jig with some bait on it. It's an overlooked type of jig to throw into your tackle box. So have some basic jigs for sure, but for the days when the basic jigs aren't working, you can fancy up your jigs by going with hair jigs or skirted jigs. Something like this or something like these other ones that I have on here will give you that variety and mix it up, and might be enough to entice the fish into bite, depending what they're looking for that day. So likewise to jigs being a universal sort of bait, the other universal bait is a spoon. And I dedicate a good chunk of my tackle box to spoons of various sizes. There's all different kinds of spoons. There's all different styles. There's all different colors. Everything from, the classic 5 of diamonds of this Len Thompson to something crazy like this purple and chartreuse spotted Gibbs Gator, I think it's called, which is huge, down to something flashy and teeny tiny like this little tiny spoon. A good spoon will catch you almost any fish. Every fish will go after a spoon of the appropriate size. So have a good mix of jigs, have a good mix of spoons. And I'm talking anything from 6-7 inches and colorful, flashy, with a good sturdy hook. If you're fishing in bigger water, this is something that I'll use for walleye. Big walleye will go after this, absolutely. Bass will go after this, absolutely. Big pike will go after this, absolutely. Lake trout, anything that I want to get a big predator on is going to get a big presentation. And big spoons are perfect for that. And you can still hook on bait on top of the actual spoon presentation. Dial it down. Now I'm going for trout. Now I'm going for crappie. Now I'm going for perch. I'm going to throw in a tiny little spoon like this. Same basic idea. It's a little flutter spoon. I can still throw some bait on the end, but it's the appropriate size. Everything is still a spoon presentation. I want to mix it up. I want to throw out see what's in the water. A good medium-sized spoon like this 2-inch Len Thompson 5 of diamonds. Anything that's in the water is going to come at it. I'll see very quickly if there's going to be any walleye or sauger in the area, because they will still go after something this size, especially if I have it tipped with a minnow. Big trout, big perch, big crappie will still go after something this size, especially if I have it tipped with a minnow or some sort of bait. So a good general spoon, such as a 2-inch Len Thompson 5 of diamonds, is going to be a good bet in a general tackle box to throw in the water and see what's there. I highly recommend that if you're going to set up an all-purpose, general-purpose sort of tackle box that you want to be able to just go to any lake and see what's in the water, have 2 or 3 big-size spoons, have 2 or 3 medium-sized spoons of different colors, and then have 2 or 3 tiny little spoons. Guarantee if you cycle through those, you'll get something biting. So the next major component of my ice fishing tackle box is noise. So I'm talking rattles. I'm talking lipless crankbaits. I'm talking buckshot little jigging spoons. I'm talking extreme tackle, big flutter spoons with a rattle inside of them, and tiny little lipless crankbaits, everything. You need something in your tackle box that's gonna make noise. Most fish pick up on sounds under the water. That should be no surprise to anybody. Predators in particular pick up on distress signals, which is what something like this Cotton Cordell Super Spot is meant to mimic. So that high frequency rattle in there is meant to mimic the death throes of a baitfish or a very distressed baitfish, giving off those vibrations in the water. Predators pick up on those very well. So if you're going to be fishing in murky water, dark water, very, very deep water where the light doesn't get to, even if it's clear, you need to make some sound and draw them in so they can actually see your lure in the first place. Once they see it, presentation is everything. But in order to get them there to see it in the first place, you got to bring them in somehow. For myself, personally, I've been fishing the Red River a lot lately, which is a very muddy, silty river. The water is brown. I posted a video on Instagram. I encourage you to check out. Punch through the ice, and I pull up, and all the water that comes up, it looks like sewage. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But there's fish in there. They can't see very well. The visibility is really poor. So I've been absolutely slaying them with these flutter spoons that have a little rattle in the middle. And you can't hear it right now. But when you twitch it, when you shake it, and you give that little twitch, it's 3 ball bearings in this tiny little section of the spoon, and they shake up and down, and all they do is they click together, click, 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 click. That's enough to draw the predators in, the sauger and the walleye, and sometimes pike. And they come in, and they hone in on that sound. They pick it up on their lateral lines, their sensors that they sense vibrations in the water. Brings them close enough to see the minnow that I have tipped it with. I have been getting really, really aggressive hits on these over the last few days fishing on the river. And that's why, is because the visibility is so low, and the hunting for these predator fish is so hard right now that when they do find you, they are very aggressive. So anything you can do to increase their chances of finding you is going to be better. You're going to want to have a variety. Same as everything else. You want a variety for multiple conditions. You can get away with being budget conscious and get 1 or 2 or 3 inch lipless cranks that have a really good aggressive rattle. Get similar to this Cotton Cordell Super Spot. Get a medium or smaller size lipless crank, again with an aggressive rattle in it. Something similar to this Dynamic Lures HD Ice, I believe is the model name for this. These things work great. I have attracted a lot of fish with these. The rattle in here is not super loud, but it's the right frequency. So that's the important thing. You want something a little bit more high-pitched in the winter. I find in the winter, a little bit more high-pitched, a little bit more distressed sounding. And so you're going to want, something bigger size, something medium size, and then something smaller size, something similar to this Buckshot. I believe this is a Northland Tackle Forage Minnow, I think it's called. But it's got the little Buckshot tube in it, Fire Tiger color, and just a very little hint of a rattle in there. But again, that clicking together just enough to cause a little bit of vibration in the water, that's all you need. The last style of lure that I would consider to be essential in my tackle box, and that everybody should have a few of if you're going to be fishing through the ice, is the jigging minnow style of lure. So you can see I have a Vexan Lures Crystal Reaper. For this one, I don't remember exactly what this one is, but you can see they're all sort of the same style. They have the hooks on the front and the back. They're all sort of minnow or baitfish shaped and colored typically, and they usually have a treble hook on the bottom. These are great for sitting vertically. The eyelid is on the top, the line, the way it holds them, they always sit exactly horizontal. So you can vertically jig them up and down through the ice. They're good for in water conditions where the fish are suspended, and you want to set this at different levels in the water, and it'll stay horizontal the whole time. And you can jig it up and down for that wherever you set it in the water column. You can throw bits of bait on it. I typically will throw a minnow tail section, and sometimes on the front I'll throw a minnow head, or sometimes I'll just put the whole minnow on the treble hook. However you want to do it. Pretty much every single type of fish that you will fish for will go after this style of lure. So this is going to be one of the essential ones to have. They come in different sizes, but for the majority of them, there's a very small range of sizes for these. So they're typically between 1.5 inches and say 2.25 inches. And they don't get much bigger than that. They don't get much smaller than that. You can find ones obviously bigger or smaller, but most of the ones you're going to see in the store that you're going to just go pick up are going to be in that range, 1.5 to 2.25, which is perfect because it's still big enough, especially if you throw bait on there, to catch walleye, bass, pike, but small enough you can still get all those big panfish, crappie, tilapia, perch, things like that. So you really can't go wrong with them, and you can get them in all different colors and all different shades of colors. So depending on the water conditions, I would recommend, in addition to some jigs, some spoons, some sound in the rattlers, have a horizontal aligned jigging minnow in your tackle box. 1 or 2 of them. Have one that's nice bright colors like this one, nice bright orange and yellow, and then have one that's more of a natural color, and that should cover you for pretty much most of your situations that you'll be fishing in. So, quick recap of how you want to set up your tackle box, getting ready for a all-purpose general ice season. Very quickly, we'll just touch back. Have a couple jigs. Have a couple different styles of jigs. Ball jigs, knuckleball jigs, bladed jigs, and, if possible, skirted or hair jigs. Have a few different colors, have a few different weights. They're cheap enough that pretty much any budget can fit a whole variety of jigs in your tackle box. If you're really, really budget conscious, just get jigs and you'll be fine. You can fish for anything with just jigs if you get enough of a variety and enough of a variety of colors and weights and styles. Jigs are the best. I love jigs. Moving on from there, you want to have a couple different spoons. Preferably, you want to have at least 2 or 3 different colors and styles of medium-sized spoons in that 2 to 2.5 inch range. 1 or 2 big spoons if you want to go after bigger predators, or if the fish are particularly aggressive in that area. Something like this one, 6 inches, 5.5 inches, flashy, silver, bait-colored, a variety of colors. 2 or 3 big spoons if you can. If you can't, if you're really budget conscious and you want to just have 1 big spoon, go with something that is bait patterned. So something silver and black, or silver and white, or blue and silver, something along those lines. The bait fish pattern is what you're going to look for. That's the best all-around color for different varieties of water. If your budget allows it, go with something like that, flashy bait colored pattern, natural colors, silver, blue, white, and then go with something a little bit more out there, like this one with the purple and the chartreuse and the pink spots. It's good to mix it up. Some conditions are going to call for the natural bait color pattern. Some conditions you're really going to excel with that flashier, more exotic color pattern. But either way, you're going to want to have 1 or 2 at least big size 5.5 to 6 inch spoons, 1 or 2 or 3 medium 2.5 inch spoons, and then if you expect that you will potentially see panfish or smaller predators, go with the 1 inch, 1.5 inch spoon, a couple of them in different colors as well. And you'll basically be set up for anything. They're very similar to jigs in the sense that you can stock your tackle box with nothing but spoons. And if you have a variety of sizes and colors and weights and styles, you'll basically catch anything you're fishing for. Have in your tackle box a way to call them in via rattles. So have 1 or 2, 2.5 to 3 inch, 3.5 inch lipless crankbaits with a high frequency rattle to draw in the predators under the ice. Something that has a number of ball bearings in there. Don't get something that just has 1 or 2 big thunking ball bearings. Get something that has a variety of smaller bearings in there that gives you more of a chorus of vibrations, more of a high-pitched frequency there. That's what you want to spread under the ice and really draw the predators in for that distressed fish sound. And then lastly, to really round off your tackle box for a general purpose tackle box, have a couple different horizontal, these are sharp. Have a couple different horizontal presentations. These jigging minnow, Vexan Crystal Reaper is a good example of a really good horizontal jigging minnow. I believe this is a Lunker Hunt. It doesn't really matter the brand. There's a huge variety out there, but have something in that 2.5 inch mid-range size category that gives you a horizontal presentation. You're going to attract predators, you're going to attract panfish, you're going to attract trout. Everything that you could fish for, you will attract with a good horizontal presentation, jigging minnow style lure. And the nice thing is, if you need to beef it up, you can add bait onto the hooks on either the front or the back or the bottom. If you need to tone it down, you can take off the bottom treble hook. You can take off the bait off of it. You can tone it down. You can tone it up. Either way, so these horizontal presentation jigging minnows are an excellent addition to any ice fishing tackle box. You follow those guidelines, have some basic jigs, have some basic spoons, have some noise, and have some horizontal presentation, you're going to have success on the ice. Those are all the basics that you need to do ice fishing and have success no matter where you're fishing. If you're not sure about the waters that you're on, you can throw in any of these lures that I've listed and you most likely catch whatever is in there. You'll be able to quickly find out if there are fish in there. So I hope that was helpful. If it was, or if it wasn't, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what else you would like to see. I will, in future videos, go into specific styles of lure and get into some, like, specifically spoons and all the different styles of spoons, specifically jigging minnows and things like that, and specific fish and how to target them and all that stuff. So look forward to that coming up. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below. It helps me out a lot for the channel. If you're not already, don't forget you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/TrueNorthWilds, on Instagram @TrueNorthWilds, and of course our blog site, TrueNorthWilds.com. Thank you so much for watching. I know it was a little bit rambly, but until next time, I will see you outside.